Hello everyone, it's Charlton, and just wanted to talk about a couple things. I don't want to review, very, very, very early on, the reason I started looking into Vegas was because I suspected that Stephen Paddock was a drug dealer. That was my first instinct, and it had everything to do with his real estate holdings early in his life. I don't want to review this too much, but I'm telling you, that is what pulled me into Vegas from the very beginning, because he was buying fairly valuable real estate, a 30 unit building, I think, and another 20 unit building. I want to say West Hollywood or North Hollywood or Northwest Hollywood, whatever, in his early 30s, and in other properties too. But, these are properties that were probably very distressed, properties that had to be gutted. I believe that's what he did with them, which is no small task, believe me. But even that, a 20 unit building in Southern California, I think off the campus of USC, is not chicken feed. And so somebody to be able to purchase that in the early 30s, normally it takes, two adults working senior level jobs an entire lifetime to scrape enough money together to buy some real estate, things like that. So people doing it in the early 30s, having worked as an accountant or working at the IRS, working at the post office, working, I think, at Lockheed Martin for a brief period of time. During that time, maybe, I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. It didn't financially add up, and I wondered where he got the cash to do that. And my belief was, my hunch was that it was drug dealing, and that he was actually using real estate to basically, put his drug money to use, and basically launder it and all that. So that's how I originally got, and I dropped that. I dropped it for whatever reason, we all are being manipulated, I believe, by from many different directions. Many of them are right on YouTube, by other creators, and I've been through that, I think. So, but like I said, I don't want to review that too much, and also, one other quick thing. One of his early jobs before, I think, while he was still in school, was he worked nights at the airport in Southern California. And that's how I think he eventually got into aviation and ended up getting his pilot's license, and later in life purchasing a couple small planes, as I understand it. But working at the airport, that would definitely be possibly an introduction to that line of work, dealing drugs. And I just mentioned the fact that how did he buy all these properties at that young age with those careers. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly, there was the fact that child porn was found on his computers, and I believe that was right in the the suites where he was staying, and the computers he had at 134, 135, not necessarily at the home, but either way. But I'm pretty sure it was at the hotel, So, and as was, I think the searches were done on the computers, the laptops that were in the hotel. All right. So for some reason he felt compelled to get rid of a hard drive that had something on it, but not child porn and conspicuous searches, whatever. That's not a huge deal. I'm just saying, I think the hard drive is probably fairly significant. I've already talked about this in my previous video. So where did the child porn come from? And it could be. And before I say that, I also do think that many of the people that might be, part of this, that might be, foot soldiers, dealing drugs at lower levels. Many of them are addicted to the same drugs they're dealing. Okay. And, that makes them basically prisoners to the drugs, So, where did the child porn come from that was left on his computer? Well, I mean, I can draw a connection to Thailand, and you know, I think that's not inconceivable at all, and that's very possible where it's coming from, that connection, and that connection exists. It just does. So, but it might come from some other place. It might come from one other place, and I mean, I remember in the movie Blow, which is actually based on a true story, Johnny Depp plays the character. I forget the guy's name in real life. You know, when there was the cocaine explosion in the, I think it's the 70s and 80s in the United States from South America. I remember a part in there where he's beginning to get big. And one of the other drug dealers, not the main dude. What the heck was the main guy who eventually was killed? Not in that movie. I forget his name. The huge dude from Colombia, I believe. Everyone knows about him. But one of the other smaller drug dealers wanted Johnny Depp to... Pablo Escobar. That was his name. Pablo Escobar. I think it was Colombia. He was the huge drug kingpin that lasted forever. Anyways. But in that movie, one of the lower level but big drug dealers that was part of his network wanted Johnny Depp to give over pictures of his family, of his children. I think his children and his wife, you know, as insurance and leverage on him for anything that might come up in the future. So it made me think that maybe the child porn that was found on Paddock's computer in the suites in the hotel were actually photos of family members of the foot soldiers, you know, that deal drugs for the organization, that many are probably addicted to drugs to themselves and can't be depended on to not snitch. And this would be one way to, as an insurance policy, to make sure that they never do that, because basically, you know, we all know what other inmates think of people who are basically pedophiles or you know, dealing child porn and that kind of stuff. They don't look on it kindly at all. Even criminals, you know, inmates have children at home that they leave at home for whatever their crimes are, and they take out their own justice. So for people that are part of the organization, foot soldiers, you know, at the lower levels, you know, because a lot of times those are the ones that snitch. Maybe they were forced or made to hand over that kind of thing as an insurance policy, and many of them addicts, so they do it, and yeah, that was just my thought on that. All right, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. See you in the next video. Later, man.